The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep rumble that echoed through the vast space. Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked through them with steady steps, her black diplomatic uniform a stark contrast against the bright, colorful robes of the alien representatives already seated in the circular chamber. The chamber was huge, built to make visitors feel small. 12 towering seats rose from the polished floor, each one designed for a different alien species. At the center sat High Arbitrator Zalthek, a Zeltharian whose body looked like it was made of living crystal. Light danced across his sharp features as he watched Elena take her place at the small human podium. Elena had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 3 years. She had seen this chamber many times, but today felt different. Today the air buzzed with tension. The other representatives whispered among themselves, their various languages creating a low hum of sound. Ambassador Vasquez. Zalthek's voice rang out, clear and cold. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Elena nodded but said nothing. She knew it wasn't really an invitation when 12 alien species tell you to show up. To her left sat the Corvani delegation. They looked like giant insects with 6 arms and compound eyes that never stopped moving. Their trade empire controlled most of the galaxy's shipping routes. They had been complaining about human competition for months. On her right, the ethereal collective's representative shimmered in and out of view. The ethereals were energy beings who thought they were better than everyone else because they had evolved beyond physical bodies. Their representative, called Whisper of Stars, barely stayed solid enough to be seen. Behind them sat the other species that made up the council, the massive hegemony war caste members in their battle armor, the plant-like Verdani with their slow, careful speech, the aquatic depth dwellers in their water-filled pods, all of them looking down at the single human in the center. We have called this session, Zalthek continued, to address concerning developments in human space. Elena pulled out a simple paper notebook and pen. The sight made several aliens chuckle. In a galaxy full of quantum computers and neural implants, humans still used paper. They thought it was charming, like a pet doing tricks. Over the past 20 years, Zalthek said, humanity has expanded at an unprecedented rate. You now control 47 star systems. This rapid growth disrupts the careful balance we have maintained for 10,000 years. A Corvani representative clicked forward on its 6 legs. Humans undercut our shipping prices, it buzzed angrily. They deliver goods in half the time for half the cost. It's not natural. Your military development also concerns us, added Commander Throck of the hegemony. His voice boomed from inside his helmet. No species should advance so quickly without proper guidance. Elena wrote notes on her paper pad, her face calm. She had expected this. Whisper of Stars faded into view. The harmony of galactic civilization requires order. Humans bring chaos. Therefore, Zalthek announced, the Council has prepared a set of requirements to ensure galactic stability. He activated a holographic display that showed a long list of demands. Elena read them while the chamber waited in silence. First, humanity must stop expanding beyond their current 47 systems. No new colonies, no new settlements. Second, all human military development must be overseen by Council inspectors. New weapons and ships needed Council approval before being built. Third, human trade practices must follow standard galactic rates and delivery times. No more undercutting established businesses. Fourth, humans must pay reparations of 5 trillion galactic credits for disrupting peaceful trade relationships. Fifth, Earth's government must accept permanent Council observers to ensure compliance with all galactic laws. The list went on for another hour, each point designed to limit human growth and independence. Elena listened patiently, occasionally writing notes. When Zalthek finally finished, he leaned back in his crystal throne. These requirements are non-negotiable. Humanity has 30 standard days to begin compliance. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Elena. She closed her notebook with a soft snap that seemed incredibly loud in the quiet room. Is that everything? She asked. Yes, Zalthek replied. What is humanity's response? Elena stood up slowly. She tucked her notebook into her jacket pocket and looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative. When she spoke, her voice was steady and clear. We respectfully decline. The silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then the chamber erupted. Decline? Zalthek's crystal body flared with bright light. You cannot simply decline council directives. The Corvani delegation buzzed frantically. The hegemony commander's armor systems activated with warning beeps. Even Whisper of Stars solidified completely, something that rarely happened. Elena waited for the noise to die down. We decline, she repeated. Furthermore, effective immediately, humanity is withdrawing from all galactic treaties, trade agreements, and diplomatic relationships. That's impossible, shouted one of the Verdani. No species leaves the galactic community. We're not leaving the galaxy, Elena said calmly. We're leaving your organization. There's a difference. She turned toward the exit. Behind her, Zaltek's voice rose to a near shriek. You cannot do this. There are procedures, protocols. The galaxy has rules. Elena paused at the massive doors. Without turning around, she said, Your galaxy has rules, arbitrator. Our galaxy doesn't. If you walk through those doors, Zaltek called out, there will be consequences. No species can survive alone. Elena looked back one last time. I suppose we'll find out. The doors closed behind her with a final rumble. In the chamber, chaos reigned. Representatives shouted over each other. The Corvani delegation demanded immediate military action. The ethereals faded in and out of reality in what passed for panic among their species. Zaltek raised his crystal arms for silence. When the chamber finally quieted, he spoke in a voice that carried across the vast space. In 10,000 years of galactic civilization, no species has ever simply walked away. He paused, light flickering across his features. Send messages to all human colonies and ships. Offer them one final chance to reconsider. And if they refuse, asked Commander Throck. Zalthek's crystal body went dark for a moment. Then we remind them why the galaxy has rules. Meanwhile, Elena walked through the corridors of the council station toward her ship. Her steps echoed in the empty hallways. She had done what Earth's government asked her to do. The vote had been unanimous. After 3 years of watching the council's bureaucracy slow down human progress, Earth had decided to try a different path. As she boarded her small diplomatic vessel, Elena sent a single message to Earth. Package delivered. Coming home. Behind her, the council station buzzed with activity as 12 alien species tried to figure out how to deal with a problem they had never faced before. For the first time in galactic history, someone had simply said no and walked away. The stars looked different as Elena's ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. They looked like they belonged to humanity now, instead of to a council of aliens who thought they knew better. The real test would begin tomorrow. 6 months had passed since Ambassador Vasquez walked out of the council chambers. High Arbitrator Zalthek stood in his private office, staring out at the stars through the massive window. His crystal body flickered with frustrated energy as he read the latest reports. The humans had vanished. Not physically, of course. Human ships still moved through space. Human colonies still operated. But they had become invisible to galactic civilization. Every message the council sent went unanswered. Every diplomatic attempt was ignored. It was as if humanity had decided that the rest of the galaxy simply didn't exist. A soft chime announced a visitor. Commander Throck of the Hegemony Warcast entered, his heavy armor clanking against the floor. The situation grows worse, Arbitrator, Throck rumbled. The Corvani trade routes are failing. Zaltek turned from the window. Explain. Human logistics software ran 60% of galactic shipping, Throck said. Their computers could plan trade routes in minutes that took our systems weeks to calculate. Without access to human technology, cargo shipments are backing up across 12 sectors. This was exactly what Zaltek had feared. For 20 years, human efficiency had quietly become the backbone of galactic commerce. Their computers worked faster, their ships moved quicker, and their crews needed less rest than most species. The galaxy had grown dependent on human capabilities without realizing it. What about replacement systems? Zalthek asked. The Corvani are trying to use their old navigation computers, Throck replied. The ones they used before humans joined the council. But those systems are 300 years outdated. A journey that took 5 days with human planning now takes 3 weeks. A new voice interrupted them. Whisper of Stars materialized in the office, the ethereal's energy form crackling with agitation. There are worse problems than slow shipping, Whisper of Stars said. Human colonies are expanding faster than ever. Zaltek's crystal features sharpened. That's impossible. We have observers watching human space. No, Whisper of Stars replied. We had observers. They report that human colonies simply stop responding to our communications. Our surveillance ships are ignored completely. When they try to inspect human facilities, the humans act as if they cannot see or hear them. The ethereal projected a holographic map of known space. Red dots marked human colonies that had existed 6 months ago. Blue dots showed new settlements that had appeared since then. Zaltek stared at the map in disbelief. The blue dots outnumbered the red ones. 57 new colonies in 6 months? Including settlements on worlds we classified as uninhabitable, Whisper of Stars added. Kepler 438b has surface temperatures of 400 degrees. Gliese 667c is bathed in deadly radiation. Wolf 359b has an atmosphere of pure methane, yet humans are living and working on all of them. Commander Throck leaned closer to study the map. How is this possible? No species can survive on those worlds. Human terraforming technology, Zaltek said quietly. They've been developing it for years, but they always shared their research with the Council. We assumed we knew the limits of their capabilities. Apparently not, Whisper of Stars flickered. Intelligence suggests their technology has advanced significantly since they left the Council. They're not just ignoring us, they're evolving without our guidance. This was the heart of Zaltek's concern. For 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had guided species development. They decided which technologies were safe, which planets could be colonized, and how fast each species could expand. It maintained order and prevented dangerous innovations. But humans were developing on their own now, and they were doing it faster than any species in galactic history. A communication alert chimed. Zaltek activated his display to see a frantic message from the Verdani Collective. The humans have made contact with our agricultural colonies, the message read. They offered to trade advanced farming equipment for raw materials. 3 of our outer settlements accepted before we could stop them. The humans provided technology that increased crop yields by 300%. Zaltek felt something like fear creep through his crystal body. They're making independent contact with council members. Another alert chimed, this time from the Aquatic Assembly. Human deep space vessels approached our mining operations in the Vega system. They offered to upgrade our extraction equipment in exchange for rare metals. The humans delivered as promised, but now our miners are asking why council technology is so much slower. More messages followed. The insectoid swarms reported human traders offering better prices for manufactured goods. The Silicon Brotherhood received human proposals for joint research projects. The nomad fleets had been contacted about sharing navigation data. They're not just surviving alone, Whisper of Stars observed. They're building their own network of relationships. Commander Throck's armor systems beeped with incoming data. Sir, we have a bigger problem. 3 minor species have declared independence from the Council in the past month. Which ones? Zaltek demanded. The Centauri Trade Federation, the New Geneva Colony Worlds, and the Free Traders of Epsilon Eridani. Zaltek knew those names. All 3 were human-settled systems that had been granted limited membership in the Council. They had human populations but also included other species who had chosen to live under human administration. They cite humanity's example, Throck continued. They claimed the right to govern themselves without Council oversight. The situation was spiraling beyond anything the Council had faced before. In their long history, a few species had tried to resist Council authority. Those species had either been forced into compliance or destroyed as examples to others, but humanity was different. They were too large, too advanced, and too prepared for traditional enforcement methods. Worse, they were inspiring others. We need more information, Zaltek decided. Send deep scouts into human space. Use our best intelligence vessels. I want to know what they're really doing out there. Our scouts report strange difficulties, Whisper of Stars said. Human space seems to interfere with our surveillance systems. Ships suffer mysterious equipment failures. Long-range sensors give contradictory readings. It's almost as if human space itself doesn't want to be observed. That's impossible, Throck growled. Space doesn't take sides. Unless someone has learned to manipulate quantum fields in ways we don't understand, Zaltek said slowly. Human scientists were always asking questions about theoretical physics that we considered dangerous. The 3 council leaders stood in silence, contemplating the implications. For 10,000 years, they had maintained galactic peace by controlling information and technology. They decided what each species could know and when they could know it. The system worked because every species accepted council authority. But humans had rejected that authority completely. They were developing technology without restrictions, exploring space without permission, and making contact with other species without council approval. They were doing everything the council existed to prevent, and they were succeeding. "What are your recommendations?" Zeltek asked. "Military intervention," Throck said immediately. "A limited strike against one of their outer colonies. Show them the consequences of defying galactic order." "Negotiations," Whisper of Stars countered. "Offer them something they want in exchange for returning to the council." Zeltek considered both options. Military action had always worked before, but no previous rebel species had been as prepared as humanity appeared to be. Negotiations might work, but humans had already shown they weren't interested in talking. "We'll try military action first," he decided. "Something small. A single colony. Make it clear that independence has a price." "Which target?" Throck asked. Zeltek studied the holographic map again. He found a blue dot in human space that looked isolated and vulnerable. "New Tasmania," he said. "A mining colony in the outer rim. Small population, minimal defenses. It should send the right message." As Throck left to prepare the military response, Zeltek remained at his window, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were building something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. He hoped a small demonstration of force would be enough to stop them. He was very wrong. Admiral Corvin of the Hegemony Warcast stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars shift as his fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Before them hung New Tasmania, a small world covered in mining operations and agricultural domes. Intelligence reports said 50,000 humans lived there, working the mineral-rich deposits and growing food for other colonies. It looked peaceful, almost defenseless. Perfect target for a demonstration, Corvin muttered to himself. His fleet was small but elite, 12 warships of the Void Hunter class, each one capable of destroying a planet's surface if necessary. The Hegemony had used these ships to enforce council law for 3 centuries. They had never faced serious resistance. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet." "Already? We just arrived." Corvin frowned. Most species needed time to detect incoming fleets and organize a response. "Put it on screen." The main display showed a middle-aged human woman with graying hair and dirt under her fingernails. She wore simple work clothes and sat in what looked like a mining facility break room. "This is Governor Sarah Chen of New Tasmania," the woman said calmly. "We can see your fleet up there, Admiral. Nice ships. Are you here for the demonstration?" Corvin blinked in surprise. "Demonstration? We've been expecting you," Governor Chen continued. "The Council always tries military force eventually. It's predictable. We appreciate the 4-hour advance notice your arrival gives us, though." "Very considerate. 4-hour notice?" Corvin looked at his tactical officer, who shrugged in confusion. Governor Chen smiled. "Standard galactic law requires 4 hours warning before military action against civilian populations. Article 47 of the Council Charter. We assume you're following proper procedures." Corvin had never bothered to read the fine print of galactic law. Military commanders rarely needed to worry about civilian protection protocols when dealing with rebellious species. Most species surrendered immediately when war fleets arrived. "This is Admiral Corvin of the Hegemony Warcast," he said, trying to regain control of the conversation. "You have defied Council authority. Surrender now and accept Council oversight or face the consequences." "We choose consequences," Governor Chen replied cheerfully. "But we'll wait the 4 hours out of politeness. Gives us time to finish lunch and make sure the kids are safely underground." The transmission ended. Corvin stared at the blank screen. In 300 years of military service, no one had ever responded to his threats by offering to wait for him to attack them. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "should we begin the bombardment now?" "No," Corvin decided. "If they want 4 hours, we'll give them 4 hours. Let them think about what's coming. Terror is half the weapon." The fleet settled into attack formation around New Tasmania. Long-range sensors showed normal activity on the planet's surface. Mining operations continued. Agricultural domes maintained their production cycles. People went about their daily lives as if a military fleet wasn't hanging over their heads. After 2 hours, Corvin grew impatient. "Scan the planet again," he ordered. "I want to know what we're really dealing with." The sensor reports came back strange. New Tasmania showed the expected population centers, mining facilities, and farms, but there were odd readings scattered across the planet's surface. Structures that didn't match any known civilian architecture. Energy signatures that seemed too powerful for a simple colony world. What are those installations? Corvin asked. Unknown, sir, his sensor officer replied. They're built into natural rock formations. Hard to get clear readings. Weapons? Possibly. But the energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. Corvin considered calling off the attack. Unknown weapons made military operations complicated, but his orders were clear. Demonstrate Council authority with overwhelming force. Sir, the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving another message from the planet. Governor Chen appeared on screen again. This time she stood in what looked like a command center. Other humans moved around behind her, checking displays and talking quietly into headsets. Just wanted to let you know we're ready when you are, Admiral, she said. Our children are safe, our vital systems are protected, and our defense networks are fully charged. Thanks for waiting. Defense networks? Corvin couldn't hide his surprise. Oh yes. Did you think we'd build a mining colony without proper defenses? Space is dangerous. Governor Chen's expression turned serious. Last chance to reconsider, Admiral. We don't want to hurt anyone, but we will defend ourselves. You're threatening the hegemony warcast? Corvin's voice rose. We have 12 warships. You have a mining colony. We have a prepared human colony, Governor Chen corrected. There's a difference, but you'll find out soon enough. The transmission ended again. Corvin had heard enough. All ships begin bombardment. Target the population centers first. Plasma cannons fired across space, their energy beams designed to melt rock and vaporize structures. The first salvo should have turned New Tasmania's largest city into a crater of molten glass. Instead, the plasma beams struck a shimming energy field that absorbed the attack completely. The shield flared bright blue for a moment, then settled back to invisibility. What just happened? Corvin demanded. Energy shields, sir. Planetary scale. They're absorbing our weapons fire. That's impossible. No colony world has that kind of defensive capability. The second salvo fired. This time, New Tasmania fired back. Weapons that had been hidden in natural rock formations revealed themselves. Energy cannons that fired beams of coherent light cut through space faster than Corvin could track. Point defense networks launched clouds of micro-missiles that moved like swarms of angry insects. The hegemony's shields held against the first return volley, but barely. Corvin watched his fleet's energy readings drop as his ship struggled to maintain defensive systems against weapons that seemed to violate several galactic conventions about destructive potential. Sir, his tactical officer shouted over the sound of alarms. The Retribution is taking heavy damage. Their main reactor is overloading. Through his bridge windows, Corvin watched one of his finest warships spin out of control. Its hull cracked open and bleeding atmosphere into space. The crew evacuated in escape pods just before the ship exploded. How is this possible? He whispered. The answer came in the form of another message from Governor Chen. This time she stood outside, the planet's defensive installations clearly visible behind her. Massive energy cannons rose from what had appeared to be ordinary hills. Shield generators hummed with power inside transparent protective domes. Every human colony is prepared, Admiral, she said. We've had 2 years to get ready since we left the Council. Did you think we spent that time doing nothing? Another hegemony ship took critical damage, its crew abandoning ship as the vessel broke apart under concentrated fire from the planet's defenses. We tried to warn you, Governor Chen continued, but you insisted on this demonstration. We understand. The Council has to test us eventually. Consider us tested. Corvin's flagship shuddered as enemy fire found weak points in its armor. Systems failed throughout the ship. His communications officer reported that 4 more vessels were requesting permission to retreat. Sir, we need to withdraw, his tactical officer said. We're losing too many ships. Corvin stared at the peaceful-looking planet that was systematically destroying his fleet. This was supposed to be a simple demonstration of power against a defenseless mining colony. Instead, he was watching the elite void hunters get torn apart by weapons they didn't understand. All ships retreat to jump distance, he ordered. Prepare for emergency faster-than-light travel. As his damaged fleet limped away from New Tasmania, one final message arrived from the planet. Governor Chen stood with several other colonists, all of them looking tired but satisfied. Thank you for the field test, Admiral, she said. Our engineers learned a lot about how our defensive systems perform against traditional galactic weapons. The data will be very useful for upgrading our other colonies." She paused, then smiled. "Please tell the Council that New Tasmania appreciates the visit. If they'd like to test any other human colonies, we'll be happy to provide the same demonstration. Have a safe trip home." The transmission ended as Corvin's fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving New Tasmania intact, thriving, and ready for the next attack that would never come. Behind them, the mining colony continued its work as if nothing had happened. But across human space, the news spread quickly. The galaxy's most elite military force had just been defeated by 50,000 colonists. The real war was about to begin. Dr. Lydia Grant stepped off her small research ship onto the neutral space station at Wolf 359. The old trading post had been abandoned for decades, making it perfect for secret meetings. Her footsteps echoed through empty corridors as she made her way to the agreed meeting location. She was taking a huge risk. As one of Earth's leading xenoarchaeologists, she had spent years studying the ruins of ancient civilizations. What she had discovered in those ruins could change everything. But sharing that information with council representatives could be considered treason by some humans. The meeting room was small and poorly lit. 3 figures waited for her in the shadows. High Arbitrator Zalthek's crystal body provided the only light, casting strange patterns on the walls. Beside him sat Commander Throck in his battle armor, still showing damage from the New Tasmania disaster. The third figure was harder to see. Whisper of Stars barely maintained physical form. "Dr. Grant," Zalthek said, "thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Lydia sat across from them at the small table. "I'm here to tell you the truth. Something the council should have heard a long time ago." "We're listening," Throck rumbled. Lydia opened her datapad and projected a holographic image. It showed the ruins of an ancient city, its buildings twisted and melted by some terrible weapon. "This is from Kepler 186f, she said, "one of 17 archaeological sites I've studied in the past 5 years. All of them tell the same story." She changed the image to show different ruins on different worlds. Each site showed similar destruction. Advanced civilizations wiped out by massive energy weapons. "The Council claims to represent 10,000 years of continuous galactic civilization," Lydia continued. "You say you've maintained peace and order since the dawn of space travel. But that's not true, is it?" Zalthek's crystal body flickered. "I don't understand what you're suggesting." "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating facts." Lydia's voice was steady. "The galaxy went through a dark age 8,000 years ago. A period of warfare that destroyed hundreds of advanced civilizations. The Council isn't the heir to an ancient galactic government. You're the survivors who rebuilt from the ruins." She showed them more images. Weapons that matched known Council technology. Ship designs that looked like primitive versions of current hegemony vessels. "Your ancestors were the warlords who caused the Dark Age," she said. "When the fighting finally ended, you rebuilt civilization. But you made sure it would never challenge your control again." Whisper of Stars solidified completely, something that happened only when ethereals were extremely agitated. "These are dangerous accusations, human. They're not accusations. They're archaeological evidence." Lydia pulled up another display. "This is from the ruins on Proxima B, a library that survived the bombardment. The records are very clear about what happened to species that refused to join your new order. The records showed species after species being given the same choice. Join the Council and accept controlled development, or be destroyed as a threat to galactic stability. Most chose to join. A few chose to fight. None of the independent species had survived. For 8,000 years you've controlled galactic civilization by making sure no species develops independently," Lydia continued. "You guide their technology, limit their expansion, and prevent them from becoming strong enough to challenge you." Throck leaned forward. "That system has maintained peace for millennia." "It's maintained your control," Lydia corrected. "There's a difference." She showed them one final image. The ruins of a massive space station. Its broken hulk drifting in the void between stars. "This was the Harmony Station," she said. "Built by the Free Alliance, a group of species that tried to create an alternative to Council rule 6,000 years ago. Your fleet destroyed it and wiped out every member species." Zalthek was silent for a long moment. Then he asked, "How did you find these ruins?" "Humans are good at finding things other people want to stay hidden," Lydia replied. We've been exploring the galaxy for 20 years, remember? We found a lot more than the Council realized. What do you want from us? Whisper of Stars asked. I want you to understand why humanity left the Council, Lydia said. We know what you really are. A protection racket that's been running for 8,000 years. You suppress development to maintain your own power. She deactivated her projections and leaned back in her chair. But here's the thing, she continued.
Humanity is different from the species you've controlled before.
We're too numerous, too spread out, and too well prepared. Your old methods don't work on us. The military demonstration at New Tasmania proved that, Throck admitted grudgingly. New Tasmania was just the beginning, Lydia said. Every human colony is fortified. Every human ship is armed. Every human settlement is ready to defend itself. We learned from the archaeological evidence. We know what happens to species that don't prepare. Zaltek's crystal features shifted as he processed this information. You've been preparing for war since you joined the Council? We've been preparing for independence, Lydia corrected. There's a difference. She stood to leave, but Throck's voice stopped her. What about the other species? The ones who are declaring independence? Lydia smiled. What about them? You're sharing information with them, technology, resources. We're sharing the truth, she said. The same archaeological evidence I just showed you. Turns out a lot of species don't like being controlled once they understand what's really happening. Whisper of Stars faded slightly. You're destabilizing the entire galactic order. We're offering an alternative, Lydia replied. Something your ancestors destroyed before it could develop naturally. A galaxy where species choose their own paths. She walked toward the door, then turned back one final time. The Council has two choices, she said. Adapt to a galaxy with free species, or try to maintain your control through force. But understand this. If you choose force, you won't be fighting just humanity. You'll be fighting everyone who wants the right to determine their own future. After she left, the three Council representatives sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Zaltek spoke. How many species know the truth? Intelligence reports suggest at least 27 have been contacted by human researchers, Throck said. 15 of those have requested copies of the archaeological evidence. And how many have declared independence? 8 so far, Whisper of Stars replied, with more considering it every day. Zaltek dimmed his internal light as he contemplated the situation. For 8,000 years, the Council had maintained control by keeping species ignorant of their true history. They had guided development, limited expansion, and eliminated threats before they could grow dangerous. But humanity had discovered the truth and was sharing it with others. The careful system of control that had maintained galactic order for millennia was beginning to collapse. Recommendations? He asked. Full military mobilization, Throck said immediately. Strike every human colony simultaneously. End this rebellion before it spreads further. Impossible, Whisper of Stars countered. Human space is too vast, their defenses too prepared. A military campaign would take decades and cost millions of lives. Then what do you suggest? Zaltek asked. Whisper of Stars flickered with uncertainty. Perhaps negotiation? Find out what they really want. They want independence, Throck growled. They want to destroy everything we've built. No, Zaltek said quietly. They want to build something new. He stood from the table, his crystal body casting shifting shadows on the walls. Dr. Grant was right about one thing, he said. We are the survivors of the Dark Age. We rebuilt civilization from the ashes of galactic war. We maintained peace through control because we remembered what happens when species develop without guidance. He paused, then continued. But maybe we've forgotten that peace through fear isn't really peace at all. It's just a very long ceasefire. Outside the meeting room, the abandoned space station drifted silently through the void. But across the galaxy, the news of humanity's archaeological discoveries spread from world to world, species to species. The truth was out. The question now was what the galaxy would do with it. 5 years had passed since Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked out of the Council chambers. Now she was walking back through those same massive doors, but everything was different. She wasn't alone this time. 15 other representatives followed her into the chamber. Some were from species that had been Council members before declaring independence. Others represented newly contacted civilizations that had been developing in isolation until human explorers found them. The Council chamber looked smaller than Elena remembered. What had once seemed impressive now felt desperate. Only 7 of the original 12 council species still held their towering seats. The others had either joined the growing independence movement or withdrawn from galactic politics entirely. High Arbitrator Zaltek sat in his crystal throne, but his light was dimmed. The past 5 years had not been kind to him. Commander Throck was absent. He had died leading a failed military campaign against the Free Centauri systems. Whisper of stars flickered in and out of visibility, barely maintaining enough form to be seen. Ambassador Vasquez, Zaltek said. His voice lacked the authority it once carried. You requested this meeting. I did, Elena replied. She took her place at a podium that had been expanded to accommodate multiple speakers. We're here to discuss the transition. Transition to what? To a galaxy where species choose their own path, said Dr. Kamal Hassan, representative of the Free Martian colonies. Where development isn't limited by fear of change. Captain Zara Chen of the Independent Worlds Alliance stepped forward. Where trade happens between equals, not between controllers and controlled. One by one, the representatives introduced themselves and their governments. The Autonomous Mining Consortium, the New Geneva Republic, the Free Traders Coalition, the Independent Research Alliance. Each one represented worlds that had chosen freedom over security. What do you want from us? Zaltek asked. Elena opened a datapad and projected a holographic document. The Terran Accords, a framework for voluntary cooperation between free species. The document was simple but revolutionary. It established the Galactic Union as an alternative to Council rule. Membership was voluntary. Technology sharing was encouraged but not required. Trade was open to all participants. Military cooperation was available but not mandated. Most importantly, any species could leave at any time. This is chaos, Whisper of Stars said, solidifying enough to speak clearly. Without central authority, the galaxy will descend into warfare. Like it did under your control? Asked Dr. Yuki Tanaka of the Human Archaeological Mission. We've shared our findings with everyone here. They know about the Dark Age. They know about the species you destroyed. She activated her own projector, showing the ruins that had convinced so many species to abandon the Council. Ancient cities reduced to ash, orbital stations blown apart by Council weapons, entire civilizations wiped out for refusing to accept controlled development. For 8,000 years you've maintained order through fear, Dr. Tanaka continued. You've suppressed innovation, limited expansion, and eliminated anyone who threatened your control. That's not peace. That's tyranny. Zalthek's crystal body flickered with defensive energy. The Council prevented another Dark Age. We maintained stability. You prevented growth, Elena replied. You kept the galaxy stagnant because change threatened your power. She gestured to the representatives behind her. These species represent over 200 worlds that have chosen independence. They're not at war with each other. They're not destroying civilizations. They're exploring, trading, innovating, and growing. Because you united them against us, Zaltek accused. No, Elena said firmly. We offered them a choice. The same choice we made 5 years ago. They could stay under Council control or they could determine their own future. Captain Chen stepped forward. Admiral, my grandfather served in your fleet during the Rigel pacification. He told me about the species you were located for their own good. About the worlds you sterilized to prevent dangerous development. Her voice carried the weight of old pain. The Council wasn't maintaining peace. You were maintaining your own dominance. Dr. Hassan added, the archaeological evidence shows at least 47 advanced species that refused Council membership over the past 6,000 years. None of them survived. That's not coincidence. The remaining Council representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some had known the true history. Others had convinced themselves that their ancestors' actions were necessary for galactic stability. What happens to the Council species that don't join your union? Asked Representative Veltar of the Verdani Collective. Nothing, Elena replied. They continue governing themselves as they choose. The union doesn't force membership any more than we force independence. But you won't trade with us? Share technology? Provide the services human businesses once offered? Elena smiled. We'll trade with anyone who wants to trade with us. We'll share technology with anyone who's willing to share back. But we won't do it under Council oversight. She activated another display showing trade routes and economic data. Union members have seen average economic growth of 12% per year since independence. Scientific advancement has accelerated. New technologies are being developed without waiting for Council approval. The data was impressive. Free species were prospering in ways that council-controlled development had never allowed. Most importantly, Elena continued, no Union member has attacked another. No one has started wars or threatened their neighbors. Freedom doesn't create chaos, it creates opportunity. Zalthek was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. What do you want from us? Join us, Elena said simply. Not as rulers or controllers, but as equals. Share your knowledge, your culture, your perspectives. Help us build something better than what came before. And if we refuse, Elena's expression grew sad. Then you continue as you are. A small group of species clinging to old methods in a galaxy that's moved beyond them. She gestured to the mostly empty council chamber. Look around, arbitrator. 5 years ago, this chamber held representatives from 12 major species and dozens of minor ones. Now you have 7 members left and 3 of them are considering independence. It was true. The Corvani Trade Federation had been in talks with union representatives for months. The Aquatic Assembly had already begun sharing research with human scientists. Even the rigid hegemony warcast had quietly approached union diplomatic channels about mutual defense agreements. The galaxy is changing, Elena continued. You can be part of that change or you can be left behind by it. Whisper of Stars flickered frantically. And if we join this union, what guarantee do we have that you won't become the new controllers? Elena looked puzzled. Why would we want to control anyone? We left the council because we didn't want to be controlled. Why would we turn around and do the same thing to others? Power corrupts, Zalthek said quietly. Your species might change once you realize how much influence you could have. Then you leave, Elena replied. That's the point of voluntary membership. If the union becomes something you don't want to be part of, you walk away, just like we did with the council. She closed her datapad and looked around the chamber one final time. We're not here to threaten you or force you to choose, she said. We're here to offer an alternative, a galaxy where species cooperate because they want to, not because they have to, where innovation is encouraged, not suppressed, where the strong help the weak instead of controlling them. She turned toward the exit, then paused. The offer stands for as long as you want to consider it. When you're ready to try something new, we'll be here. As the union representatives filed out of the chamber, Zalthek sat alone with his thoughts. Around him, the empty seats reminded him of how much had changed in 5 years. The council had once controlled the galaxy through fear and suppression. They had maintained order by preventing change. But humanity had shown that there was another way, a way based on choice rather than coercion. For the first time in 8,000 years, the galaxy had hope for something better than managed stagnation. 3 months later, the Galactic Council formally dissolved. Its remaining members joined the Union not as rulers but as equals. The galaxy finally had a chance to grow up.